Hello, my name is Sibyl Harmony, and I'm a spiritual teacher, an intuitive, a medium, and a healer. And this is a video about our world. Our world in its current state is ending. And this is what you need to know to help to create the new world that is becoming. So there is good news here. But right now, this time in history that we're living through has been written about. It's been known by psychics, prophets, intuitives, astrologers for quite some time. And I'm going to talk about some dreams that I've had and some recent visions that I've had and how you can guide yourself through this world and assist you on your path. But first of all, let's talk about some of my dreams and visions and some other famous psychics, healers, and mystics, what they have said. Also Native American tribes. So Sylvia Browne was a famous psychic. Some of you may have heard of her. And she wrote a book called End of Times or End of Days. And that book had in it prophecies from a couple of different Native American tribes, talking about when the earth would become out of balance, when we would see the white buffalo, when spider webs would move things. And so the spider webs can be the internet or all the roads with the cars. Okay. Edgar Cayce, Nostradamus, wrote about these times. And everybody was slightly different, just so you know. So there's a lot of astrologers talking about this now. And we have known that the Mayan calendar talked about 2012 being the ending of a cycle, the ending of a time. And many people thought it was the ending of the world. But what it was is the ending of the time that we're in. So we're ending the Piscean age, which is the ideas of the energy of ideas and beliefs. So we have religion, what do you believe? Now, there can be positives and negatives in that. And we are coming into the age of Aquarius, which is more about technology, groups. So we have the internet, we have Zoom, we have, we're all on phones now. There is new technology coming out to help us with and I'm using it now to do healing work, to things that we haven't thought of before. So everything that is from our old world, we are starting to see, and the corruption, and we're in the middle of it now here in America, the dishonesty, the greed, the pollution for profit, the profits over people, all these types are types of the dark side. I love Pisces. In Vedic astrology, I am a Pisces. But so Pisces can be very spiritual and psychic and intuitive, but all these lower parts of that energy, toxins, deception, illness, plague, viruses, all these things we're seeing kind of rear their head now. And the thing is that we're seeing it, and we're seeing the old systems not working, crumbling, or falling away. And whichever side you're on, Democrat or Republican or independent, and there's some on both sides, some sides more than others, but some more than others. And it is a wake-up call for all of us to wake up. We're going to see more extreme weather. That's not going to go away. And so let me talk about, but there is good news coming. There is good, I have a lot of hope for us. So There are cycles that humanity goes through. And there are, I think there's like an 84 Uranus cycle, an 84-year Uranus cycle that we go through. But what I'm talking about here is, well, let me digress. Let me back up. So we had the World War II, and before we had that, we had I think there was a war in Europe, or the Civil War. So there's cycles that we go through that where we're doing better, we're being visionary, we're creating, and then we go down into, you know, loss and crisis. So as a society, there are cyclical energies that we cycle through, okay? But if we look back at a bigger picture, what I remember, what my guides have been showing me for years is, and the Native Americans, some tribes believe in this, is that there have been other worlds before this world here. And we are starting to find Gobekli Tepe and other, you know, like, how did the pyramids get here? Where was Stonehenge? Where did it come from? So we don't really know. Our history doesn't really tell us in our books all the history that's been here on Earth. But mystics and psychics, and now some quantum scientists, are discovering that there's a lot more that is here than we know. And if we believe, when we look up in the sky at night and see all the stars, and we think we're the only planet here that's ever been here for just 10,000 years, we've already found scientific evidence of giant skeletons of building, you know, places where people lived that are much older than that. But if we start telling people that, we have to change all our school books and everything that we've said, and say that, oh, we were all wrong. And so there's a hesitation to do that, but it's coming out. We already know that there's more, that consciousness is waking up, and that there's more here than we were maybe told when we were in school, or that is being taught now. And I remember my times, and I'm not saying this out of ego, because we've all been somewhere. You just don't remember because you haven't done a past life regression. You haven't spent time discovering who you are, or maybe you're a newer soul, and that's fine too, because everybody was new at one point. That's fine. If you're watching this, I know you have history. Most major religions believe in, I believe Muslims and Hindu believe in, and Buddhists believe in past lives. It was in the Catholic and Christian traditions, but it was taken out of the Bible. Most of it was covered up as a way to control people with fear. So there's a reason why we haven't been told the truth about who we are and what we're doing here by souls that want to control us. This planet was originally, people were, made to, developed, genetically bred to be slaves. So that's what we're healing from, all of us, okay? So let me back up. I remember in past lives, I remember Lemuria. I remember being there. I remember being in different worlds that were inside this world. Now, this might sound a little out there and like, what? You know, I'm already going through all this stuff, and now but it's important that we connect with and know who we are and why we are here and why we're going through this change in life. Now, these huge shifts in consciousness, okay? So I remember times in Lemuria, life was in balance. It was much longer than we live now. And it was a more feminine-based culture. And many believe that other beings came here somehow and populated the planet and that they were in sync with the whales and the dolphins, which set the frequency of the planet to keep us in balance. And the Lemurians were here teaching us, the humans that were here, yes, interbreeding with them, but teaching how to live in balance and harmony, how to treat each other and support each other. And it went on, I don't know for how many thousands of years we were here doing this, but it was a long time where we lived in harmony and balance. And how did that world end? It didn't really end because it was a culture of harmony and balance with the humans that were maybe not as developed, but that were already here. And we mixed with them to teach and to lift up. And because that's what we do on the love planet, we have relationships, and this is a place where people, spirits, come to learn about love. And a lot of this is being channeled. So I'm a conscious channel. So, okay. So we lived in harmony and balance with the creatures here and nature. And it was such a magnificent and healing time. But what happened, because now we're in school, this is Earth School, and so everyone is here to learn. So what the Lemurians didn't do is they didn't set good boundaries. So what happened with the Lemurian culture is that it intermingled with the rest of the population that was here, and it got kind of contaminated. So because everything has a beginning and an in between and an end, every world, it was a gentle flood that I remember past lives. I was a brown-skinned young man, and I was in a pyramid, and the water gently rose. And I just kind of paddled out. And it wasn't a catastrophe. It was flooding, but it just kind of spread us out and kind of ended that time. We lived here in a time with the Atlanteans that were coming in, these other races from other planets and other genetic, you see like in Greek with the centaurs, and Egypt with the animal heads and the humans. So those types of creatures used to be here. Also elemental creatures, the nature spirits, which are no longer here in physical form, which is another story I tell in my, well, we'll see if we get to that. I also remember being like a mermaid type creature and singing in ponds and living in water with other creatures, and how harmonious that felt. And I also remember another lifetime in Lemuria. This was more near the beginning of Atlantis, when we started to shift into that world. It was more where I was a lesser known goddess. There were hundreds of female, so I'm not trying to say I was special. And I'm sure you have past lives of, I've been a retarded boy, I've been a Knights Templar, I've just researched and done past life regressions because I wanted to know who am I and why am I here. Okay, so I was the goddess, the lesser known goddess of dawn, and I've always been a morning person. The sun talked to me when I was a child. I've been connected to the sun. And also I've had past lives as a Sibyl in the Temple of Delphi, which was overseen by Apollo, but that was a little bit further on down the timeline. So in these ancient past lives, I remember, it was just like, it was just like a flood. It was like a gentle shift into a new world. But that world ended, and at some point the elementals were went into spirit form. They were captured by a group that was more warlike here, and given the choice to die or to stay here in spirit form. That's why they're etheric, and you can only see them not very often in spirit form, but they're very angry about the environment now, and that's a whole nother story. Okay, so moving on. The next world that came in was the world of Atlantis. Atlantis had many beings from many different places, but it also had the original group that kind of messed things up in Lemuria, and we got contaminated with because of our lack of boundaries. It also had this group that's come here, some people believe from the Palladians, that came here. No, I'm sorry, Orion. The Palladians is kind of like a mixture of it's like Earth. There are very good, loving, and kind beings there, but there's also very warlike and narcissistic and dark energies there. And so this group that came in began to form and gain power. So Atlantis was a very beautiful world connected with land and water, where some of us could breathe underwater. There were still some of those elemental type creatures here, especially in the beginning before they were killed off. There were many different groups here, but the main groups, many different aliens and human hybrids. The main groups were two. One was a group that wanted to gain power, and they used crystals, and they were kind of like the narcissists now, very greedy, profit-driven, and more warlike. They wanted to control others, okay? So some people feel like there were two brothers that came here from the either Orion or the Pleiades, that one was very kind and loving, and his descendants were like that. They were helpful and loved each other and wanted to create communities of sharing and profitability, but they were wanting to work together and cooperate and have a group conscious more. And then the other brother, who was very dark and maybe selfish and greedy, wanted to come in and control, and he was more violent and power driven, and his descendants were like that. And so he gathered souls around him that wanted to be like that. So you had these two factions, kind of like we have now, that ended up kind of warring with each other. And what happened in Atlantis is that the group that was kinder and more loving realized that they were also not pure. They were also controlling. They also did things that maybe were not the best for everyone involved. They had undesirable human qualities in them. And so while they were looking at this other group going, you're causing these problems, you're making the world out of balance, and you shouldn't be doing this, they also looked at themselves and said, well, some of us have been causing problems too in the things that we've been doing. Maybe we're trying to control too. So it's always been with these types of groups about power and control, especially this dark group. So what happened was this very narcissistic, power-driven, greedy group got something like with crystals and power, where they got too big for themselves, too big for their britches, and they caused something to blow up, like a nuclear bomb, quite something like that. And so what that did is it caused huge floods. And when Lemuria spread out, some of them went to Egypt. It was the Temple of Isis. Some of them went to South America. They just kind of spread out, okay? When Atlantis blew up and had this huge earthquakes and floods, they also spread out to the places where there are pyramids in the world: South America, Egypt, Greece. Some people even believe there were pyramids underground or not yet discovered in America and other places. So what happened was a big crash and a boom, okay? Now, many of us are reincarnated, but we don't remember. We are from these, we have lived in these worlds before. If you had lived in the world of Atlantis, you might be very attracted to crystals. They used crystals. You might, usually Atlanteans stand straight, and they tend to have darker hair. Not always, but Lemurians tend to be more earth-based and really connected to animals or art or the feminine, okay? Atlanteans, so anyway, what happened was the world pretty much ended. So you have stories in the Bible of, which has been edited, but of floods and these other times. So civilization did continue. Everyone didn't die, but it was an ending and the beginning of this world that we're in now, which happened about 10,000 years ago. So we had ancient ancient Samaria, and Babylonian. That is the time where I was in a past life, in between that time frame there, where I was in a past life as a Sibyl, and there were several Sibyls in a temple, and we foretold of the coming of the Christ energy, which was not a Christian being, it was a person, and we all have the Christ energy within us, but it was the energy of spirits coming here to help humans to establish, to learn about love, to learn about healing with energy, to not be greedy, to share, to we are our brother's keeper, to we are charitable, and get, that was the original teachings of energy and magic and creation of the being called Yeshua, Jesus. And before that was and somewhere mixed in there was a Buddha and other Hindu. So there's always been beings here from other places that are here helping civilization and helping mankind. Where the rubber meets the road, and what we need to wake up and realize, that if you're going to look at everything in 3D and just look at politics or this is happening or that are happening, you're really missing what's happening behind everything, which is what we have known, and it's been tried to whitewash. Oh, that, don't look at that. That's that. There are dimensions, there are beings, and there is consciousness here of the dark and the light. We live in a dichotomy of dark and light. And that is where the rubber meets the road. And that is why so many people are having a hard time now, because of all this, but also because they're choosing to just look at the lower conscious 3D world, and that we need to act as if 3D is real because we live in a physical world. But there's so much more of what's controlling that is the energies and the beings of dark and light that have always been here, that are still playing out these games and roles. And what our job is as enlightened and awakened beings is to become enlightened and awakened and understand what's really going on here. And so I'm going to tell you about my dreams now and give you some tools about how this can help you and what to do about this. So years ago, I had this dream, much like Sylvia Browne's books and other psychics that have read, what's going to happen, when is, and what I saw was hundreds of years from now, And that doesn't mean it can't get better in 2 or 5, probably 5 or 7 years. I feel like if we're gonna get better and save this world, that's when we know. But we're doing the work, we're in it now, we're in the thick of it now, with governments falling apart and the planet and the weird weather. Okay, so I had a dream of where we are going, where a possibility, because everything is not written in stone, but where it looks like we're going, it looked like somewhere in Europe, I'm going to say, and it could be all over the world. But the Ukrainians are a very strong people. And if we model ourselves after them, it's a good idea. So it looked like that, but there were all different races of people. And everyone lived in balance with Earth. The Earth was green. Homes and buildings were built ecologically into the planet so that they weren't stopping nature. There were much less people here because there's a lot of souls that have come here for this change to participate and to help shift it this way or that way. And they may decide to go home to other places, because you can go other places. This is not the only place. And so there were less people here, and they were a very proud people. They had very much integrity. They had leaders. There was no money. Everything was shared. Everyone contributed that could, and everyone was taken care of. And so it was a different world. And they were very sure about who they were and how this was going to be run, and they protected it. They knew their history, where they came from, and what they were doing here. Okay. So that's the dream I had. You know, I'm going to back up a little bit. In the 60s, the movement that we had, a lot of those people that came in, me being one of them, remember, maybe they don't consciously remember, but they came in as a soul mission to help to shift the country and the world in a better direction, because they remember Atlantis, what those spirits did. And that's why we protested in the streets against the Vietnam War, for, you know, to bring love and to stop war, and, you know, against the American government at that time that was corrupt. Okay. So we came in to do that. And a lot of us are still here, but now there's new generations to take it. So I just want, sorry, I backtracked there, but my guides told me I forgot to add that part. Okay. So back to where we were, and the dream. So this world, I saw this world of where we are going, and we can start to have a better world. I mean, we could in March, this is 2025, we could start to have a better world. You know, there isn't a guarantee, but there's certain things that happen astrologically and that are on timelines, but what we do with that matters. It's about our waking up consciously. That's why I am here now in this lifetime, helping people to wake up consciously, to recognize that there is more to life than the 3D, than the physical reality, that we are actually here, actually what's going on behind that in higher states of consciousness, or what might be unconscious to most people, is what drives the change and helps us to grow and develop as a world. And so I'm here helping people to wake up. And that's what I do in my sessions, in my groups, in my videos, helping you to wake up. Okay. So, and other things, I help people with their personal lives, because that matters too. You know, where you live, or who you're in relationship with, or your health and all that, that matters too. Yeah. So, all right. So I had that dream. And so we are capable, and we can create this better world. We could create 5 to 7 years is a time frame when all of this stuff starts to get resolved, but we're in the thick of it right now. And also, I want to tell you that I had another vision. I was asking you know, how do I help people? What do I do? And I had this vision of this angel that came to me, and he was showing me that he was here protecting me. He had big blue wings. He said, like, kind of like the color of this shirt. He said his name was Nathaniel. I haven't worked with Nathaniel. E-L on the last name, on the end of the name, means of light, of the light, or of God, goddess, whatever you call that for you. Michael, Raphael, Gabriel. Okay. So Nathaniel came to me, and he showed me with his wings, I'm here to protect you. And he put his wings around me. And he said, because you are in integrity and in truth, and you are here of service, you are not harming others, you are attempting to ask for guidance and listen for guidance. I am, and I asked to, I almost died a couple times in this life. And then in 2012, I was asked by Spirit if I wanted to go home. And I said, no, I want to stay here and help. I want to finish my purpose. So that is duly noted. Now, you don't have to turn your life over to Spirit, but it is known, if you are listening to Spirit, to your guides, to the beings of light that are here to help you, the ancestors, and some call it, you know, in many traditions, the ancestors, the guides. If you are a guardian of nature, if you are a guardian of truth, if you are a spreader of love or hate or greed, or how you are in your life, it matters. It matters. And I'm not talking about a moralistic religious frame. I'm just talking about who you are as a soul. It matters. And if you're not going to listen to guidance, why would anyone talk to you? Or if you're trying to listen to guidance and you're not hearing it, it could be that because the dark energy in the third dimension is so heavy and thick, it doesn't want you to wake up. It doesn't want, so we think we're dealing with politicians or the neighbor or our ex or the person who's the bad person, but actually those people have lower spirit energy guides around them in darkness. That's really what you're dealing with. And that is where the rubber meets the road, that we need to wake up and stop pretending that all of that isn't happening. And we're just trying to, yes, we're trying to get people to vote. Yes, we're trying to clean up the environment. But if you don't recognize, and there's a lot of energy here that doesn't want you to wake up to that. And that's what awakening is about. It isn't about being woke or this political belief or that. It really is about your consciousness evolving to using more of your brain and higher centers of, and knowing the truth about who you really are and what you're doing here and what's going on, which I could never explain. I don't know everything that's going on. I just know that that what is really happening here is a spiritual experiment, and you are a spirit having a physical experience, not a body or a person that tends to dabble here and there in spirituality or watch a video or read a book. That's not what's happening here. So this is all designed for your spiritual growth and understanding. And we are at an inflection time. We are in a very, the time where the darkness is being broke. It's like a birthing a new world. It's bloody, it's dangerous, it can be scary, but there is new life coming. So we're in one of these cycles. And as we recognize spirit and ourselves, you can do this through meditation, you can do this through prayer, through affirmation, through helpful acts towards others. When you are tuning in to the higher frequencies and being ethical, that's when the guides will come in and assist you. Not because you have to be good or not a sinner or something. And that's not, but when you are earnestly asking to develop and loving yourself and others, and you're on that thread. So what Nathaniel showed me is the vision of the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. Most people might know, probably know that better than I do. But my understanding of it and what he was showing, what he was showing me is through my understanding. And my understanding is that it was a town or a city that was very dark and negative and hurting people and using people and sickness and corruption. And there was this family that were basically, I don't want to say good people because we don't want to do good and bad, but they were more moral and ethical. And so the angel came in and said, this city will be no longer, come with me. And that doesn't mean our world or your city will be no longer through floods or fires or your country through politics or whatever. But it can definitely, it could be that, or it could be a more metaphor for leave this world. This is a corrupt world. The corruption in this world, the parts that, the lower energies, the parts that want to control and destroy and hurt. Leave that and follow me, and I will protect you. Not me. I'm not saying me. I mean the beings of light that are here. And that is you listening to your intuition. So if you do not have your intuition, you could be lost. For an example, and I'm not saying get a reading from somebody, that could help if you have somebody who's good. I'm just saying, for an example, I was gonna sell my house and move. And I was getting, I want to move to Mount Shasta. Okay. So this is a recent example of how to keep yourself safe. I was told by my guides, I knew I should buy this house. And I've been here for 25 years. And I feel like it's where I'm supposed to be. I've always known that. I have never been evacuated in a fire. There's no real earthquakes here. There's no flooding here. The power never even goes out much, where it does in a lot of places in California. I was supposed to be here, okay? And I've stayed here through 2 divorces, actually, and people trying to take my house or whatever. And I always come out ahead and I'm doing well here. Okay, so I was feeling like, okay, is it time to sell my house and move? Certain people in my family were talking to me, oh, you should move. And, so I was thinking Mount Shasta. So this friend who's a psychic called me up and said, well, look at this place. It'll be great. And I was looking at a house up there, and I was going to go up there. And I was thinking, okay, I can do this. This looks good. And then I was thinking, well, wait a minute. There's snow. It's 26 degrees. I don't even like to go outside when it's 50 degrees here. It's too cold for me. And I just don't know. I don't know. And so I had the trip planned. I talked to the realtor. I booked the room. I was on my way. I was going to leave the next day. And I just felt like my intuition said, it doesn't feel right, Sibyl. It doesn't feel right. And so I always get my messages from nature. So I looked out the window, and there was this deer, and it was about to walk out into the road. And I went outside and I shooed it off. I'm like, go back where you're safe. Don't come out here. And to me, and then I walked up on my front porch, and I had a teacup in my hand, and it just flew out of my hand and it broke. And when something breaks, it's clearing energy. The energy broke. And so as beautiful as I love Mount Shasta and I want to visit there, it isn't the time for me to leave. And so this is how we receive guidance. It's not just that, it's my daily guidance. I am grounded. I'm surrounded by beings of light. I am being guided through every step of the process of my life and the decisions that I make. for my own and everyone else's highest good. And you can have that too. You need to have that. It's part of why you're here. It's part of your humanness. We've been shut off from that, thinking like, oh, it's psychics, or you believe in that, or and people telling you what to do, or reading. And I don't read people. I don't tell people what to do. I look at energy. I help you to find your own answers. And when you change what's going on or heal what's going on inside of you, the situations or the people to support you in that will show up. And so you can be a creator or a victim. You can be powerless and controlled or fearful, or you can be in your power and not so afraid and connected and manifesting. And you can do all of that. You can. You are strong. You are powerful. You are light. We are the children of the light. And we are coming into a time of light. And this is a video here to help you understand this ending of this world we're living through and the new one that is coming in. And that can come in today. You can bring that in today for you. You don't have to wait for 800 years from now or 5 years from now or 7 years from now, because you don't have to live like that. You don't have, like that song, you don't have to live like a refugee. Maybe you are a refugee. Maybe you are an immigrant. And even then, even a prisoner has a choice to choose their thoughts, because everything is about our beliefs and our perception. This is all temporary, designed for your growth. And good job getting here and coming here and being here in this time of change. And, you know, we're going to be okay. And it is time for us to wake up, not woke, not, you know, voting this way or that way, or of course, being prejudiced is a very low energy or something. That's not what, that's just a term that people throw out. It is an awakening of consciousness, the understanding that what you're dealing with looks like a 3D world, but it's actually being controlled by these other spirits and these energies, or by you connecting with your higher self and the beings of light that are here to assist you, not take your power, not tell you what to do, to assist you in developing yourself and your life here, now on Earth, and creating a beautiful world for all of us. I am sending you so much love. Please subscribe. It really helps my channel. And if you're already subscribed, like and share. I am honored that you listened and made it all the way to the end of the video. So sending you so much love. Thank you for all your wonderful comments. I will be on this Saturday with a spiritual video. And then if you want to join my memberships, I'm going to be on 12 o'clock live with members on most Saturdays. I'll be on this Saturday, the 15th, I believe it is. All right. Take care. Bye.